Hey, it's me again, NKH, and well, guess what? I made the engineering video because I got bored and it's really intriguing and it's really hard to do and it's really annoying. Yeah, engineering is the most annoying profession to level up, but here's the breakdown. So if you don't have the channel subbed, please sub the channel because every 3 days I break down a new profession and will tell you how to best level it up and how to get ready to craft T5 epic gear. So that's about it. Let's get to the video. Bad news first, the trainer only teaches you stuff up until 25 skill, and that's I think the lowest of all the professions. Now, most of the recipes you'll be getting is through inventions, scouring, notes, and ideas, and that's a system that I'm gonna explain in full detail because that's mostly what engineering is about. Now, that's the intriguing, annoying part. But if you find it fun, you're gonna have a lot of fun in the war within. The scraps are your best friends. Like everything will be used through scraps, and at the beginning you have nothing to do without them. So it's best to get the engineering bag. It will increase the amount of scraps that you get from the sources by 1. And at the beginning, your only way to get scraps is mostly by using potions, engineering stuff, tinkers, or the easiest of all, the treasures. Now you can just loot treasures around the war within, mostly in the ringing deeps. There are a lot of them and you get scraps from it. It's really easy. You need a few of those to just scour through and get the Pilfer Parts. Now you get the Pilfer Parts at 5 skill. When you have 5 skill, everything will be much easier because you can buy parts from the auction house and just make scraps from it and then use the scraps again to scour through and get other recipes. Now, this is mostly what you do before you get a lot of recipes. You'll be usually getting scraps, just scrapping parts and then using them to scour stuff, then parts again and again. It's a loop that you'll be doing the first week probably to skill up your engineering to a part that is useful. That's basically all you have to do to get a part that is high in skill, and you can craft it to level your engineering up to 25. Now this is completely random. Every engineer's journey gonna be different. You might get different recipes, you might just skill up faster than everyone else, you might get the mount on the first try, you might get the combat res on the first try. This is completely random and nobody can be sure. Afterwards, it's just the invention system, and that is really hard to explain because that's something you gotta do always and forever because that's what engineers do. Now, what basically that system is that you get a recipe called invent and it has a daily cooldown. I don't think this is gonna be available in the early access. This is probably be one of those limited stuff that they said they would do. But basically, you can invent something new with 25 scraps each day. Now, this can be a new prototype, this can be a new recipe, this can be a lot of stuff. But this is what you gotta do every single day. One other thing that you get with the invent recipe is the disassemble recipe that will just disassemble the new prototype into scraps and notes and stuff like that. So let me explain the prototypes first. Prototypes are the devices that you get from the engineering. Now, when you recognize those prototypes, that will turn out to be a device in your unknown category. Now, here you have two choices. You either get a duplicate recipe, duplicate prototype, and you disassemble it for notes. Now, what notes are will be explained later in the video, but for now focus on the prototypes. If you don't have the prototype that you just recognized, you can use that recipe. You can just, if it's a potion bomb for example, you can use the potion bomb, and when you use that potion bomb you learn that recipe and can craft it later with its own materials. But if it's just duplicate, or if it's some recipe that you don't find useful, you can just disassemble it and get the notes. Now what notes are simply scraps for prototypes. You scrap the prototypes and get up to 2, 3 or 4 notes depending on your spec. There are ways to increase how much notes you would get by spending knowledge points in the specs, but that is it. Like, you get 50 notes from 4 to 5 scrapped prototype and craft it into comprehensive ideas. Now what ideas are is that whenever you use that item, it will give you a choice between 3 recipes, and that is where the essential stuff come in. Now you can get the mount only from the ideas. If you check the engineering window, you can see on a lot of recipes that it all comes from notes and ideas, and this is basically that. Now in the video I'm just trying to get some fall damage so I can use that injection on myself and learn the recipe. Now you have to use these devices at least once to get the recipe. When you use them, you learn it and you can craft it independently from the prototype system. I hope I explained it as simple as I can, because this is something that is really weird and really annoying and hard to do, and it's completely random, and you can just get a lot of prototypes and get the comp address at the first try. Now you just need to use the prototypes that you need. The potion bomb, the comp address are the most important ones. The tinkers, however, are a little bit weak in this expansion. I hope they add a lot more to them, because we had a lot more in Dragonflight. The combat res was a tinker back in Dragonflight, and now it's a device. Just another reminder here, I made a lot of videos on this playlist talking about professions, what the knowledge points are, what the stats are, how to become a master crafter. You know the deal. I made those videos and they are on the same playlist, so if you are looking for another profession, or if you're just lost, confused and do not know what I'm talking about, why not go watch those? Yeah, and sub the channel and like the video, and comment down below what profession do you want me to break down next. Although if you're just catching up with me, if it's later when the expansion launches, well, watch the other videos. At this point, the trainer recipes will get you to 35 skill. From there on out, you have 2 options. Either you do this in a simple, normal pace and just log in every day, do the invent recipe, get something, use the device or disassemble it, and it will take you about 20 days to skill up to 100. But this is just a simple path to skill up, but we do not want that because we are in a hurry to craft T5 gear. So you'll be doing the invention system that we talked about. Every day you get new devices, you craft everything that's a skill up, so you get the highest skill possible. But here is my alternative way, and this is only my opinion, so keep that in mind too. You can spend 15 points in inventing spec and get a cogwheel. With that cogwheel you'll easily level up to 50 skill. Why I'm telling you this in spite of everything that we talked about in the videos is because at below 50 skill there is no point in crafting spark gear. Like, nobody's gonna be able to use it, so spend your first spec point into inventing, and then the one that unlocks at 50 skill will be getting to the guns and to the bracers and to the goggles that we can craft with sparks. So this is again all my opinion. This is the easiest I've been able to level up engineering in the beta. It might change, it might change not, but I think this is a stable way to reach 50 skill and get access to both trees to get spark gear and to be able to farm the mount too. Now specific to the mount, I'm waiting to see what changes and what doesn't change when farming the mount to make a video. I will make a video, so make sure to have the channel subbed and will tell you every detail that you need to know to be able to craft that mount. Moving on to the engineered equipment, this is the spec that we want for T5 gear. The guns, the bracers, the goggles, all of that is here, and we want to max out this tree to be able to craft the T5 gear that we want to be able to call ourselves a master crafter, because we can craft everything at T5. The tree itself is really easy, and you want to spend your points in the left side because the bracers are way more important than the goggles. People will usually reserve that spot for their tier set and don't get the goggles on their head, and they will just go get the bracers for a tinker slot and use it. But in my opinion, the tinkers are really weak in this expansion, and probably a lot of people won't even bother with getting engineered gear. Maybe those who play PvP, because that will just help you. There's this new tinker that will use it to get the information from the battleground and tell you what to do, what's where, what's happening. It's, I think, like a radar. I didn't get to test this one at the battlegrounds. I didn't have it crafted, but the tinkers are really weak. So the most important piece of gear in engineering is the gun, because we don't have the bow of the dragon like we had for leatherworkers in Dragonflight. The only ranged weapon comes from the engineering this expansion. So every single hunter will want that gun, and you can charge a lot for it. From this point onward, it's really like all of the other professions, because you'll be just crafting spark gear to level up your engineering. However, the invent one can give you +2 skill every day, so make sure to get that inventions, and you can just do that simple system, not simple because it was very complex to do to get this skill up, but you'll be doing mostly the spark stuff and the devices and all of that to get your skill to 100. Now this is completely random. Your path's gonna be different to any other engineer because you'll be getting different recipes, you'll be crafting different stuff, but this is it. This is how to get to 100 skill using the easiest methods possible. You want to get the bracers first again, and your main bracer, the one that your class can use, will be taught to you by your trainer. The others will be given to you through the ideas or through just randomly crafting other bracers. This is just another system that will randomly give you recipes, so this is why this profession is just annoying. Depending on how fate fortunes you, you might also need more items to get a lot of more orders to skill up to 100. So it's advised, if you're having bad luck or if you're having a hard time leveling up engineering, to just get the profession gear and the goggles before maxing out the bracers and the gun. Now this is again something that you might need. Others might have better luck skilling up. They might just get a lot of few public orders. They might get lucky NPC orders to craft stuff and skill up. But if you are having a hard time, go ahead and get the profession gear and the goggles before maxing out the bracers and the gun. For you to be able to craft all of this gear at T5 with concentration, you need to max out the engineered equipment tree. Now, I'm not gonna focus on the professions or the goggles, but the left side is mandatory. You should spend all of your points to max out the left side as quick as you can. Whether you delve into the goggles and the profession gear next is completely up to you, but keep in mind that usually people use the head slot for their tier sets, and profession gear do not have a lot of demand as much as the bracers and the gun. So you can either then max out the right side of the tree or go into the inventing again to get a bit of more skill toward all of your crafts and be able to just craft T5 gear without concentration or with the minimal use of concentration. One other thing to note here is that the devices spec do not focus on the spark gear or the mythic equivalent crafted gear. So If you want devices, if you're going for reagents and stuff, spend your points in the devices tree. But what you want to do to be able to craft T5 gear without concentration is to come back to inventing tree and max out domain node, because each 5 point that you spend will award you skill toward crafting T5 gear. Now from this point onward, it's again just optimizing your specs. If you want to go for the mount, just max out the second node. If you want more ingenuity, if you want more resourcefulness, you can just spend your points on the left side or the right side of the tree. But usually you don't need to spend anything further to just craft T5 gear. At this point onward, it's mostly your preference. Annoying was the right word, right? Because after this video you should be as annoyed as I am. Because this inventing, this noting, this, it's way harder than it was in Dragonflight. And in Dragonflight we had like, I don't know, the engineers was just non-existent. I don't know how to express this. Like everybody wanted tinker stuff, but there was just no engineer to craft it, and people actually didn't want to pay much for it. So nobody actually skilled up their engineering. I don't know how engineering will fare in this expansion, but that was the best I could tell you, and I hope that it was helpful. And I will see you in 3 days in another video. So yeah, make sure not to miss those. And you know this stuff by now. Your support is a great thing to do, because that will keep me motivated. We'll see you in the next video, guys.